So I plan to do this live with streaming service and my good camera and everything, but now everything was screwed up. I guess there was an update, and now I don't know exactly all the details on my streaming service here, so I've got to do that later, and so I'm late, so I apologize. Anyway, Rich Mitch, how are you doing? Hello. Good to see you again. And since you're the first commenter, Rich, you win something. So thank you for being the first commenter. I'm going to send you this. I'm going to talk about this later. So this is a sample set by, is it Matière Premier? Probably not the way you pronounce it, but it's kind of looks like that. Anyway, this is a great newer line that I just found out about. I'm going to have a video about this, and but yeah, it's about 6 in the line, and there's little sprayers that come with it. So Rich Mitch, this is all yours. I have a video about this coming out tomorrow, if all goes according to plan. But really good stuff. Anyway, you're welcome. You're welcome. Email me at daver@fragrancepros.com. So email me and with your mailing address, and then I'll ship that out this week. Just got to say hello to everyone. Kevin Hawthorne, how are you doing? Good afternoon, Kevin. Serge, how are you doing? Is it Jewel? Is that how you say your name? Hello to you. I need to do more giveaways. I need to do more giveaways to people that come on the live stream. So yeah, I think you'll like this, Rich. I think this is a good line. Oh, thanks, Jewel. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Good. All right, let some people come in here. Medina Custom Knives. Medina, you got to talk to me. I have another channel. I don't know if you know about this. So I have another channel called Beast Made Reviews. One of the reasons why I haven't been as active on Fragrance Pros is because Beast Made Reviews is doing a lot better. And I'm shifting some of my attention over to that channel. Anyway, on that channel, I do a whole bunch of other stuff. Really anything that I like. I talk about quality, different things like that. I have things on knives and EDC and fashion and all that kind of stuff. But if you're a custom knife maker, I would love to connect with you. But just let me know. So hello, everybody. So before we start, I just wanted to let you know this is a sponsored video by Fragrance X. Fragrance X, of course, is a company that I really like. I think they're a great company, sells legitimate fragrances for discounted cost. They have a ton of fragrances on there. If you're looking for a fragrance to buy, definitely check out Fragrance X. They got a lot of great deals on there. Everything is authentic, and I've had only positive experiences with them, so definitely check them out. Jesus! Medina Custom Knives says, I actually follow your other channel. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I need to check out your knives then. All right, so we're going to be talking about the golden age, and is the golden age over? And before we do that, I want to get to a few things here, and just a few new fragrances that I have that I've gotten recently. I haven't done one of these lives in a long time. I miss the lives. It's just been a time thing, but I want to do more lives. So if you enjoy the lives, let me know. And so yeah, I'll definitely do more of these if I can. I always really like it. I love the interaction. But yeah, so let's go over some fragrances that I've just gotten that are pretty new. So the one that you just saw was Matière Premier. It's probably, I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm pretty sure, but I refuse to say it the right way. So it's probably Matière Premier. But yeah, this is a really good line, a boutique line. They have some really good fragrances. Part of the reason why I thought of the idea of is the golden age over with is this line. And I know that sounds like a negative. It's actually a good line, but I just wonder about the golden age. Anyway, so here's another fragrance that I've just gotten recently. This one is Brain Dance by, what is this? Why did I forget the name? Broken Anatomy. Good guy. I've talked to him several times, and he just got new caps too. So look at those caps. Got a little brain on there. And Brain Dance is really good too. It's almost like a little bit more herbal, a little bit more spicy version of maybe Acqua di Gio. And I say that, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Oh man, it's got like a rainy, wet thing going on with some spices and herbs. It is excellent. Love that. Love that line too. Excellent line. I also got this one recently by Argos. This one is their Pour Homme. Pour Homme is really good. I think this is one of their sleepers in their line. A lot of their fragrances, like Triumph of Bacchus, overshadows some of their other ones. And this is one. This one is a really good lavender scent with some citrus, really complex too. I believe there's some pine in there too. It's a really excellent scent. I actually love this. It's one of my favorites from them. And they recently updated to the newer style bottles, like the Triumph of Bacchus bottles. This was an older style bottle at the time, but they redid it. And this is one of the newer bottles. I can show you the bottle if you want me to. And then I got this one right here. This one is London Funk by Wilhelm Parfumerie. And this one is really interesting. I guess it's supposed to be reminiscent of London. I haven't been, so I don't know exactly, but it's got like this really kind of funky, I don't know if this is in the notes, but this is what I smell. It's got kind of this funky cannabis type of thing, kind of a skunky type of thing. And I'm not sure if I like it. But I want to talk about this later, so definitely check that out. Stay tuned for that. I may do a live about this one in the future. And then this one, I have a review of this one coming too. This one is excellent. This is the newest one by Widian, and this one is Banias in their Velvet collection. This one is so good, so good. I love this one. So this one is an excellent one. Definitely check out for that. I have a full review of that coming as well. So with that out of the way, I'm going to get to some of the comments in just a little bit. But I had a couple of things on my mind thinking about, is the golden age over? And the reason I was thinking about that is because I think that it is. Whenever I think of what a golden age is, I think of a few different factors. For one, I think there's a lot of creativity. There's an enhanced creative edge to a lot of the creations. When we think about golden ages of different media, maybe like books or comics or anything you can think of, one of the things that I think that you'll say is part of the golden age is that innovation, is that creativity, that spark. That kind of drives what the golden age is. I think also too availability. And so I think some people might argue that we are in the golden age, and I can see that argument. But I think the golden age has passed. I think of fragrances like this. This one is Terre Damez. Now, Terre Damez, I don't think is the best fragrance in the world. I like it. It's not my favorite fragrance, but this was one that I think was really creative for the time. And I believe it came out in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I'm not really sure. I forgot exactly when this one came out. I think of fragrances like Mugler's Angel and even Amen to an extent. I think of other ones like Dior Homme, Acqua di Gio. I can think of dozens of other ones that go back even further in time in the 80s, Cool Water, Drakkar Noir, and then go back even further, 70s and even 60s in some cases, like Eau Sauvage by Dior. There's different periods I think had a lot more creative edge to their fragrances. And what was the last fragrance that you thought was really impactful for the industry as a whole? There's only two that I can think of that I think really kind of made waves recently, and that one is Sauvage and Bleu de Chanel. Those were kind of the last two, and those came out right now several years ago. A lot of fragrances copied them, and I think maybe at the time, I think maybe they did kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't say that those fragrances are unique in a sense. They definitely were safer, and I think they're good fragrances, but they're not what I would consider creative fragrances that really push the limits or push the boundaries of fragrances at all. I think the only reason they led a trend was just because of sales. And I think they were really chasing more of an audience rather than trying to create something that would capture an audience. And so that way, and in that sense, I think there's something about the age that we live in now where we're living in the post-golden age where it's not focused on perfumery anymore. It's really focused on a commodity. And to me, that killed it. That killed the creativity. That killed a lot of what perfumery is really known for, and I think what it should be driving in the industry. And the fact that the biggest hits are really just mass appeasements kind of says a lot about where perfumery is today. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't gems out there. I think there's definitely some fragrance houses, even some single fragrances that I think have done really well. But whenever I think of new fragrance lines, how many fragrance lines are coming out these days? I mean, there's a lot. And in that sense, some people might say this is the golden age because there's so many fragrances. But I think in that sense, I think it's so watered down. There's so many choices. There's a paralysis of choices. When I look to see like what fragrance I should get, if I were new getting into fragrances today, I would be terrified. I wouldn't even know where to start. And going to a fragrance counter in just the mall or something like that, you're getting only a tiny fraction of what is actually out there. And most of what is at that counter is past its prime, no longer good anymore, or whatever. Rich Mitch, he sent me a super chat. Thank you so much. He says, I think 99% of new releases are derivative today. And that's what I think as well, Rich. I think that today we are living in an era where people want to kind of copy certain themes or ideas or genres more than trying to create something that really matters to them as a company or as a perfumery artist or whatever. So one of the things that I think about too is because what I was just talking about, there's so many fragrance houses that come out today. I think sometimes about what would it be like to come out with a fragrance line? And I'm not starting a fragrance line for your information, but I think about what it would take. Where would I start with a fragrance line? Because in my mind, I think about other fragrance houses that are coming out with fragrance lines. And I think if you were to think about coming out with a fragrance line, I think many people would think like this, because this is the way that my initial thoughts went to. It's like, okay, I would start with maybe 5 fragrances, right? You got to start with a few. You can't just start with one. Start with about 5 fragrances. What would those 5 fragrances be? Well, I've got to have a rose fragrance, right? I have to have a leather fragrance, okay? I have to have a woody fragrance. I have to have a gourmand fragrance. And then maybe I have to have something that is just really sexy and sweet and maybe spicy or something like that. And those would be like the 5. That's like every fragrance house these days. They're all derivative of that general idea. There's not like a new idea of how to make a fragrance line. It's all the same thing. And that's why I say that this line right here, I'm just going to say Matière Premier. But this line right here reminded me of that idea. Now, this is actually a really good line. And I don't mean to disparage anyone from trying this line. I think you should. I think this is great. However, the line consists of derivative ideas. They have a rose. They have a woody. They have a woody. They have a woody fragrance. They have a leather. They have a cologne, right? A citrusy fragrance. That's like one of the staples, right? They have a few more other ones in there. And it is a good line, but when I smell it, I think before I even try it, I think I know what this is going to smell like before I even try it. And that to me is a big bummer. One of the things that bothers me about the industry in general, one of the reasons why I don't make as many videos on this channel as I used to, is that there's rarely anything that I get to try these days that really surprises me anymore. a lot of the things that I smell like other things, and those other things that they're trying to copy usually do it better. And that's not to say that I haven't tried things that I think that I like, but the fragrance world as a whole is really lackluster, and I think is just really in a slump. And even though there is a glut of choices, I think that there is this real kind of famine of creativity. And it's all just the same thing, slightly different. And especially with rose fragrances. Don't even get me started on rose fragrances. Now, there are some rose fragrances that have blown my mind in the past. But I've smelled so many rose fragrances in recent years. And it's not my favorite type of scent. But I smelled so many different, I smelled so many newer type of rose fragrances. And every time I smell it, it's always the same type of rose with only subtle differences here and there. Those subtleties are not enough for me to say, this is better than this one. It's, it's like, it kind of reminds me, there's this old episode of Futurama in which there's this planet of the Greys. And the planet of the Greys, they're all just these gray people, and they're just bland, and they're all the same thing all the time. And for this really funny moment in the show, this one of the people in the Greys was in a was going to their death, and his last moment, he said, "Tell my wife I said hello." It's just a funny moment, but it reminds me everything is just these subtle shades of gray. In a rose scent, nothing really stands out apart from other ones. They're like, well, this one has a subtle note of, verbena in there. This one has a subtle note of lime. This one has a subtle note of lemon. It's all the same thing. And even though they are really nice fragrances, it's mind-numbing how similar these fragrances are. So I would love to know your thoughts, though. What do you think about the Golden Age? I don't necessarily know when the Golden Age was, how long the Golden Age was. I kind of think that towards the 2000s, we saw a decline of real fragrances. And so to me, I think once you hit about 2000, 2005, you're on a downhill slope past that. And so to me, I think like somewhere between the 80s and 2005 was a real golden age of modern perfumery anyway. But I would love to know your thoughts. Do you think the golden age is dead? Do you think it's still alive? Do you think that, what do you think? Let me read some comments here. All right, I got a lot here. All right, let's see here. Reading some hellos here. Okay, here you go. Mr. Calvarino says the golden age was during the 2010s. After that, the industry got boring. This is the era of flankers. Yeah, it definitely is the era of flankers for sure. Serge says, both my channels are great. Thank you, Serge. I see your comments. Thank you so much, sir. Hello, Omar. Hello, Page of Styles. Medina Custom Knives. Yeah, I'll definitely link up with you on Facebook. So definitely. All right, Mr. Calvarino says, every fragrance house is just reusing the same 2 or 3 notes. Nothing smells original. I totally agree. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's maybe it's some issue with ingredients. I don't really know. I don't know if it's a creative thing. Maybe it's a market thing. I don't really know what caused it. But yeah, there's just something about a lot of these fragrances are so similar. Empty Sense. Hey, Empty Sense, how you doing? Jewel says Egoist. Now, Egoist is just a brilliant scent. That is an amazing scent. I really need to get that one. That's one scent that I smelled and I was like, whoa, this one is great. It really is. Rich Mitch says, R.I.P. the Amen line. Yeah. You know, in one sense, I'm glad they put it on hiatus maybe. I don't know if it's necessarily dead. I think they really started to kill it when they started to try to capitalize on the Amen line with the endless flankers. So I remember that forever they tried to make a fresh scent from the Amen line. They tried so many different ways with like the mint fragrance and then the orange zest one, and they were all just not great. And man, so many different ones. They had like a pure leather, which was just a leather added note on top of Amen, which was okay. There's the pure Tonka, which didn't smell that great. I mean, just so many flankers, so many. They really should have just done a limited release every once in a while. What's funny is I remember at the time when JR was on the channel, we actually made this unlisted video and we sent it to someone in the PR department that we were in contact with at Mugler. We sent it to them just as kind of an appeal from what we see in the fragrance world. And there's actually a number of people that watched that video, far more than just a couple of views that you might get for an unlisted video that you're only seeing. So it seems like it was sent up the chain. And I remember years after that, they came out with a few of the ideas that we came out with, like the Mugler cologne line, that line. And I don't think that I think they did an okay job with Mugler cologne line. It didn't blow me away, but I like that they were going in that direction because that's where they really needed to focus on for fresh scents. And we had a couple of other ideas in there, and I think they even did a couple more of those too. But yeah, I always think that's really interesting how the Amen line just kind of went to poop. All right, let's see here. Joey Swaney says Aramis, Ralph Lauren Polo. Yeah, those are all really good ones too. Mr. Calvarino says Versace Cedrat di Diamante is so nice. I haven't tried that one. I don't even know. I haven't even heard of that one. Is that a new one? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. Professor X, hey Daver. Glad to see you again. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Hey, Professor X, how you doing? Robes08, how you doing, Robes? Sorry, I'm on my phone. Again, everybody, I was trying to make a video on my streaming software, but I couldn't. I've had the same settings on there for a long time, and for whatever reason, everything started to change, and I couldn't get my audio to work. Just would not work. So, oh well. Nuclear Scene, top PAA fragrance, please, that lasts. I want to order through your link. Please help. Okay, Nuclear Scene, let me tell you, one of my absolute favorite fragrances with them is out right now. It's a limited scent. It is the Atomic Pumpkin. So it is their Bay Rum fragrance, which Bay Rum is kind of a spicy, almost clove-like, but not actually clove, but it has kind of a clove-like smell. But Atomic Pumpkin is pumpkin mixed with that, and it is incredible. If you want like a really great fall scent, definitely check that one out. I love it. They have that one in the Eau de Parfum, and the Eau de Parfum, I think, lasts a pretty good amount of time. Definitely get that one. It is one of the best scents that I think they have. I'm working with the owner of, I say working, I'm talking to the owner on of Phoenix Arzon Accoutrements, and we're working on kind of a collaboration there. And I say collaboration, I have a very, very small, minor part of the collaboration. But so I'll let you know when that comes out. But I really like Phoenix Arzon Accoutrements. I think they're a great house. They have some of the best, as far as like scents, I think they have some amazing scents, especially old school type of scents, like classic shaving and that kind of thing. But some of their unique creations I think are great too. But their Bay Rum is the best Bay Rum that I have tried. And their pumpkin one is, mwah. Oh, the Atomic Pumpkin is absolutely divine. So definitely check that one out. But don't sleep on any of their other products too. Their soaps, their solid shampoos are absolutely incredible. Two of the best ones that I've ever tried. They last forever and they feel great. What are some other ones? Of course, their shaving products. Their shaving products are great. If you like wet shaving, their shaving soaps are amazing. They're some of the best feeling ones that I've tried. They also have this thing called the Cube. And the cube is just a big block of soap, just this cube. And I use it for washing my face. So it's used as a pre-wash, so you can wash kind of your face before you actually use a shave soap. But what I like to do is I like to use it for to wash my face just in the morning. And that one is great because there's something in there. I don't know what it is, but your skin feels so soft afterwards. So I love that one as well. Another thing that's great about Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, any product that you can think of will be scented with any scent in their line. So if you want, the full suite of products, you can get that in that particular scent. So that's what I recommend. Definitely check that out. All right, let me see here. Mr. Calvarino says, lots of perfumes don't even last. Some eau de toilette last longer than parfums. That's a cash grab. Redo says, it's like music. It's oversaturated with no revolutionary new sound. I agree. Music is another one that I think we're past the golden age on that as well. In some ways, I really like how some bands are getting out there and they're able to make newer, fresher things. And I think the same could be said about the perfume world as well. I think part of the reason why music itself, this is a great analogy, by the way, thank you. Part of the reason why I think music itself is the way it is today and is so derivative and whatever it is the market itself, the money behind the market, and the fact that the radio only plays so many. And I remember thinking, I remember seeing something about, I forgot what it was. There was some act that was passed in the United States in the 90s, and it really kind of consolidated a lot of radio stations. And that was the beginning of when music kind of died. And like I remember the 90s, there were so many good bands coming out at the time. And across different genres. It wasn't just a genre thing. Like, of course, I remember in the 90s thinking about like grunge and alternative at that time and really being influenced by that. But there was lots of different genres that were also really thriving at the time, partly because there was a lot of great radios playing different things. Once the consolidation happened, that really killed the selection of music. So now we get the same radio stations playing all the same songs all the time, and we only hear so many. And so I think with Spotify, though, Spotify has kind of changed things. So we might be able to see maybe a different age of music sometime soon. Maybe there'll be something like that with perfumery. I don't really know. But I really think that whatever it is, perfumery itself needs some kind of infusion because it's wow. Not going so great. Medina Custom Knives says we live in an instant gratification age. Yeah. Mr. Calvarino, it's a flanker fest right now. Yeah. Robes08 says the niche brands turned more into designer houses in the past several years. The releases are more mainstream. Yeah. I think, yeah, I know what you mean. There's a lot of loaded phrases in that. But yeah, I think a lot of niche houses, boutique houses, really decided to make fragrances that were turning into cash cows. And yeah, I haven't smelled a good fragrance by Tom Ford in a long time. I'll just say that. Of course, they are a clothing designer, but they had kind of this boutique range. But anyway. All right, let's see here. Joey Swaney says, why not think of starting with seasons in mind instead of styles or smells? I'm not sure what that's in reference to here. Mr. Calvarino says, 2010 to 2018 was the last golden era. Okay. Mr. Calvarino says, Sauvage Elixir was the best release in a while. It should have had a different name. That's one I have not tried that one yet, but I've got to try that one. So I have all the other ones. Robes08 says, my buying recently are discontinued scents or going into the past mostly. Not too many new releases. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's a great point, Robes, because I know you're one of those collectors who really likes to collect, you know, a lot of the latest things, a lot of the hot things. I think for someone like you that is really trying to buy up discontinued scents instead of new scents, I think that's telling. Joey Swaney says, it's the battle of the Clone Wars right now. I don't know. I don't think that clones are. Do you think that clones are really gaining steam? I don't really see them as gaining steam. I think that there's always going to be clone houses out there. There's always going to be houses that are copying other fragrances. That's always existed in every media besides perfumery. I think that will always exist. So I know that there are fragrance houses that maybe they make a release that smells similar, to a fragrance, but with a minor tweak or something like that, or it's their version of this one or that one. But I don't think that, I would not say personally, I would not say this is the era of clones. Jewel says Golden Age is dead. I agree. Joe Sweeney says, everything that comes out is a play on something else previously released. Yeah, absolutely. Nuclear One says, the Golden Age was before the Ifra hammer, when all the chemicals were bad for you but smelled so darn good. That's okay. That's a good point. That could be. Serge S says, with life going back to normal, I'm hopeful for a resurgence in perfumes and innovation. I hope so too. But I don't personally think that it has anything to do with COVID though. Like, this decline has been happening for several years before 2020. It was happening for a long time. So I don't necessarily think that it was a pandemic thing by any stretch of the imagination. But I will say this. I wonder, because I know a lot of people contracted COVID. A lot of people had anosmia, maybe even permanent ones, or they had phantosmia in some cases. Like my brother has phantosmia. So in that one, he smells things in a different way, or he smells things that he smells in invisible smells where they shouldn't have been. So my brother, his sense of smell has been really changed in a bad way, which I feel bad for him, because especially for like birthdays and Christmas and stuff like that, most of the time I would just give him a fragrance because he would really like that. So now he can't really wear a fragrance that he likes. I say all that because I wonder how many perfumers contracted COVID and their sense of smell had changed, or just shut off, or even other people in the industry as well, like creative directors maybe. Now I realize the industry as a whole is probably small, so the percentage of people who maybe even contracted COVID, or and in that case, of those who contracted COVID had anosmia, may be really small. But I would love, maybe years from now we'll find out from perfumers who they had to stop their career because of it. I wonder. DC says, yes, just glad I experienced the good times. Yeah, I'm not ungrateful for, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I agree. I think that I am grateful for the times that I've experienced, the fragrances that I've smelled and I've experienced. And I wouldn't say that I'm ungrateful at all either. So I'm really happy for what I had, for what we had, for what you and I had, DC. Nikolai says, they need to use new ingredients, same flowers, same citruses. I think the industry is always trying to. And there's different things I see here and there, trying new extractions of things. I see rumblings of things. One fragrance house that I really love is Slumber House. And I was lucky enough to actually snag one or two releases this year. And I think on some of those, there were different types of extractions that were used to extract the ingredients. And the different extractions, like a CO2 extraction, gives you an ingredient that smells different than maybe like an expressed extraction or whatever. And so I know a little bit about extraction just because I've read a little bit. And so like for instance, like if you wanted to get like a citrus, one of the ways that you can get a citrus extraction is you can take the peels and you just press it down and squeeze, literally squeeze the oils out of the citrus rinds. That'll give you what's called an expressed extraction. That gives you a certain type of ingredient. Another way you can do it, I'm not necessarily saying with this with citrus in general, but another type of extraction that you can do is a CO2 extraction. And they take liquid carbon dioxide and they literally pour liquid carbon dioxide in there. And I don't know how this works, but there's something having to do with the ingredients. I think the ingredients separate or come out of the material. I'm not exactly sure how that works. There's other things too, like there's one where you can take iris and you can in order to make, I think, iris butter, you actually have to use like a fat soluble material. So there's different types of extractions, but yeah, I think I don't necessarily think that new ingredients is stopping them. I think it's more of a creativity thing. I think anyone with experience can make something really good, even with a small amount of things to work with. So any master painter can create a masterpiece with 3 colors, right? And if you give a novice 100 colors, that's not going to make a better painting. The experience of the artist is what makes the better painting. So whenever I don't think that having different ingredients is going to make a better product. It's just whatever the experience of the creator is. Medina Custom Knives says, I appreciate Zaharoff line, classic styling with modern twist. Yeah, I think that's a good line. I really do. The owner is a really great person too. So I've gotten to chat to him with a few times. That's really cool. Joel says, maybe the creativity is a reflection of today's audience. I think that is true. I think partly it's like a market reaction, whereas, so I think as a creator, so I understand like part of this just being a creator. So as a creator, YouTube creator, I can make a video that I believe in, or I can make a video that I know will get a lot of views. Sometimes those coincide, most of the time they don't. So I can either make a video that inspires me creatively, or make something that will just get a lot of eyeballs. In the fragrance world, I think that they're thinking the same way. So it's, a lot of these are businesses that are trying to make a lot of money. No problem with that. Maybe even some of these are publicly traded. I'm not really sure. But especially with companies that are publicly traded, they're trying to just maximize the profits. So I don't know if like some of these bigger houses like Chanel and Dior, or like the bigger conglomerates that like Clarins, I'm not sure if they're publicly traded. If so, I'm sure they're trying to just maximize profits for their shareholders. And though I don't think there's anything wrong with that, anytime someone does that at the expense of what they're selling, it dilutes kind of the creativity of what you're doing. And so I think a lot of these houses are thinking like that. Maybe even just private companies. I'm not sure. I think they're thinking, we can make this, which will be really unique, but won't sell as much, or We could just make our version of Sauvage. I think that's what's going through their mind. All right, Rich Mitch, you email me. Good. Okay, I'll get your email in just a little bit. Mike Nguyen says, so glad I was able to catch this live. Thank you for watching, Mike. I really appreciate it. Mental Plane, Robes Await, please start making videos again. Professor X says, I think the golden age is pretty much dead, more so in the mainstream realm. A lot of fragrance houses in this category have went from being iconic to now being a joke. Yeah, I agree. Mike Kirby says, I don't think there was a golden age. The big brands are just very risk averse now. We are more cynical now because we see all the releases. Most muggles have no idea. You could be right. That's a good point. Skirabiri says, it's like with music. The stuff to do it is much more available and affordable. There's plenty of fragrances, but there's still a bunch of gems. Okay? Greggy boy, how you doing? Rich Mitch says, Greggy boy, Daver, and Robes in one place at one time. I'm in heaven. Redo says, fragrance is traditional. There are a few wood scents. There are thousands of species. Similar to wine, traditionally oak barrels are used. Can you imagine the flavors, scents using other species? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, how many cedar fragrances are there? You know, I know that there are fragrances out there that use pine, but few of them get it right. And one that I think does is Bois Americain by Tom Ford. That was one of their, I think, original releases in their private collection. And then it went away. And then it came back as like this kind of vaulted fragrance that came out. And it was like ridiculously expensive, but that was so good. That was so good. Joey Swaney says, I worked in radio from 1994 to 2009. It changed big time. Yeah, I bet you saw a lot of change. Rich Mitch says, plurality is extremely important in life, markets, and politics. Absolutely. Tammy Arata says, aloha, aloha. R question mark ZQ question mark 45 says, in terms of frags, designer in the 90s, niche 2007 to 2014. Mike Kirby says, not to get into music tangents, but all the labels missed the boat on grunge. So they didn't want to miss the next big trend, so everything got played. Joey Swaney says, Keist and Orr are amazeballs. Yes! Yeah, they are. Yeah, they really are. I think I may still have a sample of Keist, but never got like a full bottle. I think I have Orr. I have to double check. I'm not even sure. There's so many good ones from Slumber House. My goodness. I got Greve and I don't know if I have Orr. I have to check. I have Greve, I have Bach, and I have Sova, and there's actually two Sovas. So there was a previous Sova and then a newer release of Sova, and so I have both. Sova is amazing. Homework Radio says, I work with lo-fi hip-hop typically. We're sure not to miss that. We're sure not missing that. No, you're not. Lo-fi anything, man. There's been like a lo-fi trend, especially everywhere, I guess. I've seen lo-fi guitar a lot. Although I like lo-fi guitar in a way, there's so much of it and it's so trendy that I stay away from it. Nikolai says, cool, I'll check Slumber House. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be hard to find something from them. Let me just warn you right there. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but it seems like they just release things in these waves, and you just kind of have to sign up for email lists, like on Lucky Scent, or they may even have one on their website. There's a couple of places that sell them. Lucky Scent, and I think Fumery Parfumery in Oregon, I think they sell them as well. I would just sign up for both of those email lists and just wait. You might not even be able to find samples of it. I'm not even sure. Sonny Zasevich, not sure how to say it, says, let's be honest, Mitch doesn't need any more fragrances. Serge S. says, like fashion trends, music, do you think popular notes and fragrances will be remixed every 20 to 30 years? I do. I mean, I think they have in some sense in the fragrance world. I mean, especially like there's always going to be, like you think of like Chypres. Like Chypre is a genre that is capitalizing on a fragrance called Chypre that came out, when was that? The 30s? 20s? Maybe later. And there's always some new wave of boutique house that is making their version of a Chypre in whatever way they want to make. I think there's always going to be that kind of remix. There's always a house that kind of does the oddball aquatic scent too, even though that ship has sailed too. Like I think of aquatics are not going away, and I realize there's always going to be something there, but there's always going to be a house that does it. Like I think even Raja Dove made an aquatic scent. What is it called? Oceana? Is that what it is? I haven't tried that one, but even Raja Dove made that. So let's see here. Joey Sweeney says, take out a loan to get a bottle of Slumber House. Yeah. So now, if you buy one new, if you're able to buy one new, I think they're reasonably priced for what they are. I think it's 200-ish, something like that, for 30 mils. Now, that's still a lot, but that's not unreasonable. But on the used market, I mean, you're going to get like just worked over on the price there, because it's impossible to find. Edwin Rodriguez says, dedicated perfumers for one specific brand, maybe that kills creativity. I think that's a good point. I haven't thought of that, and maybe it does. You know, I do like, I think there's a pro and con here. So I do like when there is a dedicated perfumer with a fragrance house. Like I think of Olivier Cresp was Chanel? Anyway, so Olivier Cresp, brilliant. I love his fragrances. And I think a lot of his fragrances that I've tried, I generally like. I know he has one with Acro now. That's like his baby with his line with his daughter. And that's a really great house. But I think you're right. There is that aspect of different perspectives clashing with, one another, creates something that each person may not have anticipated. And there's something about that different perspective and interaction with different people that enhances creativity rather than stifles it. And I think in some cases, I think that, I think if I were, well, I mean, I am, I guess. I've made plenty of videos that were not creatively great. And I'm the only person that thinks of my ideas. But I think if I collaborated with someone, that would be different, just because we would both kind of play off each other with ideas. I don't have the luxury of doing that. Maybe these houses don't have that luxury either, so I don't really know. Mike Nguyen says, Slumber House is so difficult to get a bottle of. I'm on Fumery Parfumery email list, and whenever Slumber House releases a fragrance, I get a notice. Yeah, okay, there you go. Jacob says Andy Towers Aquatics sucked. I'm not laughing because I make fun of it. I just think that frankness is so funny. I would love to try it. I haven't tried it. Which one is that one called? I'd love to know. Joey Swaney says $285 Slumber House ore on eBay. Now with 70% of the 30 ml bottle remaining. Steep, brother, steep. Yeah, that is steep. With 30 bids currently on, by the way. Wow. How long on that, I'm not getting it, by the way. I'm not going to snipe you. But how long on it? I'd love to know. So that means it's only going up from there, I think. Mike Kirby says, David, do you think the independent perfumers are more likely to push the industry to be creative? I know ATH is a lightning rod, but he is doing his own thing. ATH. What is ATH? ATH. Okay, so to answer your question, I think maybe. I think in some ways, maybe. I think there are certain creators, I think, that are out there that the industry is looking at. The industry is definitely looking at imaginary authors. They are watching them. Because imaginary authors will make a fragrance, and the industry will make a copy fragrance somewhere. They are. They're doing that. So they're watching them. And they've done that a couple times. But I don't think that the industry is considering every house out there unless they're just doing really well. Because I think the industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they're not concerned necessarily with small potatoes. So if there's a fragrance house out there, maybe they're making something that's great. I don't think that they are necessarily paying attention to that unless they're doing something that truly does make waves or gets a lot of attention. In a weird way, having two channels is so eye-opening because the perfume industry versus the industries that I work with on my second channel, Beastman Reviews, definitely go and subscribe. The industries there versus the perfume industry, night and day. Night and day. The perfume industry is almost impenetrable. Like, it is really difficult to talk to people. It is, a lot of times it seems like many of them are not paying attention to videos on YouTube at all. And not that I'm the biggest channel, but my channel is big enough to where it would get noticed and people would want to watch in certain industries. My channel on Beastmade Reviews has less than 10,000 subscribers. People will literally, they'll do anything they can to put a product in my hands. Anything. And that channel is not even that big. But there's so much more enthusiasm with companies trying to get themselves out in front of their audience, that they will do anything they can. Versus the perfume industry, they're just like, they'll come to us. I mean, there is just some hubris there, buddy. Wow. Jewel says, Slumber House Pear and Olive sells for £600 here in the UK. Whoa. My goodness. Now, Pear and Olive is good, but it's not £600 good. Joey Swaney says 2 days left on that eBay listing. Wow. Man, I can only imagine what it's going to be like the last hour of that. Oh my gosh. Joey Swaney says, I have half a bottle left. No interest in buying any more Slumber House. Man, it's a shame. Rich Mitch says, Aaron Terrence Hughes. Oh, okay, I see. ATH, yeah. Yeah. Jacob says, Philo Blue by Andy Tower. That's the aquatic one. Okay, I'll definitely check that one out. I don't have high expectations about it now. Oh, anyway, thank you everyone for your input. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, but I thank everyone for joining me. Thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate it. I'll see you next time, I'm going to try to do more of these lives. I don't know necessarily if I can commit to a certain time just yet, but I'm going to try to do more. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for your comments and for your discussion. I really appreciate it. Joel says, Office 1 killed the game. Anyway, thank you again, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I love you all. I'll see you next time. I'm Dave with Fragrance Bros. Bye.